Many thanks for making a date on the marketplace. Let's now settle for our very first story. The president of the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, Dr. Yao Edujemfi, has called on government to implement policies that will put businesses on the global pedestal. He was speaking at the launch of the 8th AGI Industry and Quality Awards in Accra.
In order to grow bigger companies, there is a need to enhance competition in Ghana and beyond. According to the AGI president, Dr. Yao Edujemfi, businesses can grow if government focuses on using made-in-Ghana goods to increase productivity.
None of these companies in Ghana right now has a turnover over $200 or $300 million a year. No company. But you have a lot of companies in Nigeria which has turnover over 500 million. South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia. This can only happen because when our government buy our own made Ghana products instead of importation. Our government is the biggest expenditure. They buy a lot of products. So instead of us importing, we rather should support our local companies. Whatever we produce, it might be a little expensive, but for example, if you're buying 5,000 or something, and then all of a sudden we are buying 100,000, what will happen? The companies will be able to produce, because of the large quantity, the prices will be down.
He adds that the recent shutdown of some microfinance companies will not affect businesses under the AGI, since most of members do not directly obtain funds from microfinance institutions.
Of their closure is going to affect most industries. Mostly, yes, it will affect the traders, but not manufacturers.
Speaking at the recent MasterCard Index report, which indicated there are more women entrepreneurs in Ghana than men, CEO of the AGI, Sechuma Kwabwa, said despite the development, men rather own bigger businesses. He, however, noted that women still have the potential to grow.
Women do very well in this, and they can be very, very prudent in the management of things. And they grow the businesses. Of course, they have their own challenges as women because they have their household duties to perform, and But I think that if it is well managed, they can come up. But the reality, though, is that a lot of the big enterprises are owned by men, but women have potential to grow and become big as well. So there's a lot of potential for women-owned businesses and women-managed businesses. Sometimes I distinguish between the two because you could have MDs of companies who are women who don't own the business, but they do very well. And then you could also have enterprises that are actually owned by women and managed by women. So in all cases, they are women-related. And I think if you look at the history, a lot of the business that have been managed by women were also very well managed.
The AGI's 8th Industry and Quality Awards is on the theme Positioning Ghanaian Industries for Global Competitiveness. Alberta BC's report for Joy Business.
Now, some cooperative credit unions in the country are said to have been hit by the recent microfinance sector cleanup exercise. About a week ago, the Bank of Ghana revoked licenses of almost 400 microfinance institutions for non-compliance to regulations. General Manager of the Ghana Cooperative Credit Union Association, Emmanuel Kofi, spoke at a press conference to sensitize the public on misconceptions about credit unions due to the revocation of the licenses of some microfinance institutions.
The Bank of Ghana has not revoked the license of any credit union in Ghana in its bid to sanitize the microfinance sector. Credit unions remain one of the safest, sound, and viable financial institutions that are preparing the financial inclusion agenda spelled out in the one of the Sustainable Development Goals, that is eradicating poverty by the year 2030. KUA, by this press conference, seeks to clarify and demystify the misconception that has led to panic withdrawals in some credit unions across the country. I wish to state emphatically that no credit union has been declared insolvent or its license revoked in the latest move by Bank of Ghana to sanitize the microfinance ecosystem. Credit unions have existed in Ghana for over 60 years, promoting economic development among members, and as a member-owned institutions, we remain consistent, solvent, and viable. KUA is assuring all credit union members in Ghana that our offices are open for business. We're going to have stakeholders conference or meetings at the regional or chapters, where we're going to meet our credit unions at the chapters and discuss the way we do our business, the way we recruit members into our credit unions, the way we inform public properly, so that we distinguish ourselves from other financial institutions. Currently, the credit unions and other financial institutions, especially microfinance, we are treated the same, and we are not the same. We are distinct financial cooperative credit union. It's a small world after all. It's a small world.
Let's stay within the financial sector. The Bank of Ghana is assuring the public that Barclays Bank is in good standing despite the recent regulatory action taken against it. The regulator in a statement also maintained that the bank is solvent and liquid. George Rafi has more.
The official notice from the Bank of Ghana was, however, silent on whether the 4.6 million Ghana cedi fine still stands and whether Barclays has taken steps to pay the said fine, but only to say that the misconduct which Bank of Ghana claimed Barclays has misled the public with questionable quotes have been resolved after some engagement with officials of Barclays. It is, however, not clear for now what might have informed the statement from the regulator. Following the announcement this week, we picked up some WhatsApp messages circulating in the public. We sought to suggest that the bank was in crisis and government was trying to close it or merge it with another institution, a claim that was rubbished by Barclays Bank in a notice to its clients. However, our sources say the statement from the Bank of Ghana only sought to assure the public that the bank was well capitalized and wasn't in crisis. For some analysts, maybe the move by the central bank is to ensure that their regulatory fine doesn't end up causing a run on Barclays Bank Ghana.
Well, so let's bring in George Rafi here at this moment. He's been following this development and has some more updates. No, George, what has Barclays Bank been saying about the current statement?
In statements like these, if we don't get to appreciate the import of it, and that is why earlier the Bank of Ghana is trying to assure that their fine on Barclays Bank had nothing to do with their finances, had nothing to do with their liquidity, had nothing to do with the fact that they are not in good standing to do business. It was just a forex problem or them breaching a forex regulation and the other things with the big bank stance. Why has this issue come up? Because we also saw some text messages going around saying that Barclays is going down. But the bank is saying that when it comes to our finances, we are solid. When it comes to our ability, we are free. If you should call on Barclays Bank today that you want your deposit, we can do that for you 24/7. In terms of meeting every financial commitment as a bank, we can meet it. Therefore, the concern that because of this we are going down, the bank is doing well, it's neither here or there. The bank is very, very strong. Again, even if you look at their numbers from last year, they might have posted one of the highest profits in the industry. They are sound, they have the required corporate governance structures in place, and banks are caught in some of these things. So just because of this action, it doesn't mean that the bank is going down, and therefore people should not react negatively to this action.
But this doesn't in any way negate the payment of the fine, right?
Well, what we are also picking up here suggests that, well, the fine still stands. And in some of these circumstances, I don't need to carry the money in maybe a sumo and then take it to the Bank of Ghana or carry it in a big bag. But these commercial banks, they do have accounts at the Bank of Ghana. So what the regulator will just do is that they will take that money and you have to fill that hole, which is also a regulatory requirement. If you don't work on these balances at the Bank of Ghana, you could be fined. So the assurance out there is that the bank is safe is sound, and it is very, very, very strong, Gafi.
Let's very good assurance there. Let's move on to this, microfinance sector. The receiver was supposed to have started paying, the customers.
The Bank of Ghana, in doing this action, would always want to rely on external parties to do this. The receiver here is Eric Nana-Nipa. He is a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Eric Nana-Nipa, looking at the fact that he has over 300 companies that are supposed to go down. He cannot do this alone. He's also brought on other partners. What we understand is that the money that government gives to them to aid the process is being lodged at Consolidated Bank Ghana. Now, as we speak right now, in the afternoon, from midday going, the payment to be made. That will only be individuals that they submitted those claims that, for instance, I go out and tell PwC or Nana-Nipa that you owe me. What are the supporting documents that you can give to suggest that
to prove
indeed
that
you owe me?
Right.
Let's watch Eric Nana-Nipa. He's been giving us more details on this, about the processes you have to go through before you can walk to CBG this afternoon and take your money.
Think that we have an idea of the state of play of some of the institutions we have effectively taken over. All right, so where that is concerned, when customers submit their claims, of course, with the speed of submission, we believe that we can very quickly and adequately respond to that. Because if it's crystal clear that your name is there, the amount is not in dispute, all right, and your submitted claims tally with ours, and that we can easily establish in no time. Then, as a matter of course, validation will be complete, and then the next stage will be for us to advise CBG to make the payment.
Right, so the receiver to the microfinance revocation
He's leading that process to liquidate the over 300 companies. So if you get your text message, you can actually speak right now. And going there earlier this morning, realized that they've also gotten their list. And even one branch can boast about more than 200 people.
But that's ahead of the Monday schedule. Earlier we were told
you make projections. It appears, and he said in the interview that Friday or Monday, they can make the payment. So it wasn't the fact that the payment will start next month. So, for instance, one branch, when we went there, we saw that one of the lists that have been submitted to them has over 200 persons on that list. So there will be quite huge queue there in this afternoon. You can go there and take your money from the bank.
Thank you very much, George Biafri, for that update. Let's move on to other stories. Director of Yexin Microfinance, Yexin Emmanuel Kuglenu, says his company is still awaiting scrutiny of their books by the receiver. The Bank of Ghana recently revoked licenses of some microfinance institutions for various reasons, including deposit taking. However, speaking on PM Express on JoyNews, Yexin Emmanuel Kuglenu, a victim of the closed-down institutions, said his company is not a deposit-taking one and wait for the receiver to go through the books.
I have not received any letter from the BOG stating categorically that my license is revoked. And we believe that we are on course. For the fact that we do not meet a minimum capital of 2 million Ghana cedis, we don't have any liability that to push us out of the business at all. We are still strong. The list we have, we manage it. And very unfortunately, on the 31st of May, our name popped up. I can remember that on the 24th of April, examiners came to my institutions and to conduct the on-site examination. So when they came, they conducted the examination. In the process, there's some unupdated issues with the system. So they told us they can go, and later we can also rectify it. And on the 20th of May, a report was ready to us. And then when a report was given to us, among many other things, it was addressed that one, we shouldn't take a deposit. Meanwhile, we do not engage in deposit taking. And then the final one was that we should address certain issues before 31st of July 2000.
What are some of these issues? Jackson, if you say address issues, what are some of these issues the regulator asks you to address?
They mentioned that we should address issue concerning the liquidity.
Okay.
That is one. Meanwhile, we claim that,
Meanwhile, financial expert who was also on the show, Nkunimdini Asantentwi, believes the Bank of Ghana acted based on companies that flouted regulations of microfinance and other non-bank institutions.
If you read the business rules and sanctions for MFIs, Rule 35 sub 6 specifically, it indicates that for Tier 2 and Tier 3, which is a deposit-taking Tier 2 and Tier 3, they are non-deposit-taking but take investments from the public, that if you're unable to meet both the primary reserve ratio, which is 10%, the secondary reserve ratio, which is 20%, and in some cases, special reserve ratio, which is 10%, aggregate of 40%. If you're unable to meet all of these reserve requirements, BOG will prescribe penalty for you. And in addition to the penalty, they'll provide these directives. Don't open additional branches, don't collect any more deposits, and so on and so forth. So I am conjecturing that perhaps BOG found a basis for concluding that maybe there were some violations of liquidity reserve requirement. In his case, I don't know that for a fact. As I indicated, the difficulty we have in all of these is that there's paucity of information from the regulator in terms of specifics, as we had at the banking level. Over time, I'm sure will come. Until we have that, we can only use.
Now, about 95% of goods named on the public payroll have been cleared. It follows various audits and forensic exercises over the years to clear the payroll of persons that are not actually working in the public sector. There's more in this report.
The amount of money the state spent on paying public sector workers has been described as a big challenge for government. This is due to the rising bill for this expenditure. According to the 2019 budget, the country is setting aside about 22 billion Ghana cedis to pay workers after years of significant increase. It is believed that it has been a major challenge for government in terms of utilization for its finances. But speaking to Joy Business, the Controller and Accountant General, Kwesi Quinin Bosompin, tells Joy Business the move will help the country make some savings when it comes to the wage bill.
Last year, we had a nationwide exercise with Auditor General to enumerate all government workers on the payroll. We did it from Accra to Bolga. We did it for every government worker. And as we speak, the report is ready. And I believe the Auditor General will attest to the fact that enough has been done to remove those names from the payroll. The exercise that took place, if it's anything to go by, I would say about 95% of such goods names are no more ghosts.
He has also been talking about measures that have been implemented to help prompt payment of public sector wages.
Now we go strictly by the payroll timetable. And at times we even pay a day or two before the due date. So it's something that we don't even talk about it. It's thing of the past, total.
In a related development, the department is also fast-tracking the adoption of the International Public Sector Accounting Standards when it comes to the preparation of public finance and accounts in the country.
In other news, transportation network companies that provide private ride-hailing platforms in the country are inadequate. Speaking to Joy Business at a media launch of a ride-hailing service, Yango, senior international launcher at the company, Adenyini Adebayo, says the sector needs to be highly competitive so as to provide improved services. Ghana has seen the entry of about 2 such private ride services, which sought to provide some comfort to passengers by connecting them to private drivers across the city.
What we are here to do is to optimize the effectiveness of both getting orders to drivers and at the same time providing very, very cheap fares for riders. How do we do this? Because of the fact that we have our own in-house technologies for most of the things that we do, including maps, navigation systems, a smart AI that sort of distributes orders to all the drivers. It ensures that there is very, very small and tiny idle time for drivers, while at the same time we can keep the costs very low because we're building on our own technologies. Now this ensures that riders get very cheap fares and drivers get very, very fair amount of money for their rides. rides. It also means that, we have more busy drivers because we don't have drivers just going around town and burning fuel because they have more orders. They do more orders per hour, and by doing more orders per hour, they make more money. And this actually not only affects only riders and drivers, it also affects the effectiveness of the infrastructure in the city. So in most of the cities where we operate, just because of the fact that you have more rides, it means that you could optimize infrastructure, roads, traffic, and all of these other things because of the fact that more and more people are using the ride hailing. So competition is good. Competition allows everybody to sort of do better. It allows us to be able to not only push the frontiers of innovation on our side, it also allows other the market to grow, right? So that is what we expect to be able to do here. I mean, and feedback from clients, feedback from riders, feedback from drivers would help us sort of improve. And we think that at the end of the day, it's a net win for everybody, for all the participants in the market.
And that will be it for the marketplace today, and of course for the week. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Thank you very much for keeping company with me throughout the week, and have a great weekend.